Hello everyone, hello and happy new 1940. Yes, you heard it right, it's 1940 according to the Balinese Saka calendar. Yesterday we had a big celebration here. We paraded in the streets. There were huge models of demons, all kinds of ugly and crooked demons that the local kids have been making in the last couple of weeks, and they were very proud to display them and to walk them around in the streets. Also, there was the Gamelan Orchestra playing, like this is the local percussion band basically. There were quite a few of them in the streets with, again, a lot of kids actually playing this really loud, psychedelic, amazing music. And yeah, and huge crowds of people. And the purpose of the whole thing was to scare off the evil spirits from the last year so that they don't enter into the new one. And when we finished doing that, actually, it was not the end. Today, we're having a silent day. And during that silent day, nobody is allowed to go out in the streets because the locals believe there are still some spirits left. And what we want to do is we want them to think that there is nobody around, there is nobody in the city. So when they come, they'll just look around and they're like, okay, there's nobody here, and they're just bored and leave. So because of that, everybody's staying at home, spending time with family or in some kind of self-reflection. And we also don't have internet, so that we can really kind of tune into ourselves, take some rest, and welcome the new year from a good place. And yeah, I'm realizing a lot of things about my internet addiction today. It's amazing, but this is not what I'm going to talk about. It's actually the self-reflection mode that I've also entered has allowed me to learn something amazing about fear that has been really profound for me, at least. And I thought that today I'm going to share just that because I feel it's a long story. And yeah, so what is that thing about? So as I shared before, I am thinking of starting something new. I'm actually working already on starting something new, and part of let's say this process is that I feel afraid of failure. However, I know that I'm feeling it, but it's really hard for me to put my finger on those moments or those things that I'm afraid of. So it's like something more concrete, because the moment I know what it is, like for example, oh, I have to jump over from there, I have the courage. I have no problem. Every time in my life when I've had, oh, yeah, that was just a fly that bumped in my forehead. Anyway, anytime in my life that I've had a specific fear of something and I knew what that something was, it's like, okay, cool, that's my challenge, that's what I go and do. But now it feels like it's not like that. And at first I was thinking that I'm numbing, that I'm just keeping myself distracted with other things, and in this way not allowing myself to really feel the intensity of this fear and address it. And because of that, I was like, okay, cool, today is the day when I'm going to face my fear. I want to see it, I want to hold it, I want to experience it, I want to feel it in its whole intensity, I want to know it. And because of that, I said, okay, what's the way in which I do this? And the answer was clear to me. I have this practice of shamanic tripping that I do every once in a while for the last 2 years. And it's been an amazing, amazing tool for me of accessing a state of mind, a state of mind. It's actually, I think, corresponding to gamma or theta brain waves, which is like a state of half awake, half asleep kind of consciousness. And yeah, I don't use any drugs to do that. It's just drums that I listen to, and for about 20 minutes, and I just start from a specific point. I set an intention, which in today's case was I want to experience my fear and see how to overcome it. And I just go in and I let my imagination or like my subconscious just bring out any sort of images or experiences that it can conceive of. And Usually my trips are pretty crazy, and I've had a lot of intense experiences in them. So today I was also expecting to have a very intense experience of facing my fear. However, this was not so. What happened actually was that I went through a lot of different experiences and images, each of them having to do with the topic, but I could not feel the pain or the feel or the fear or anything that was corresponding to what I was experiencing, which was very weird for me. So you can imagine things like I like just feeling like, okay, I'm in this swamp of black liquid, and actually the liquid is some small gooey creatures that are dragging me down, and eventually they manage to drag me down in the liquid, and they make me one of them, and I become this small gooey black creature that's just drifting around. And at some point I drift near to the shore and I try to get out, and as I try to get out, there is an eagle that comes and eats me, and as he eats me I become the eagle. And then the eagle gets caught and he gets put in a cage where it's like super small, the cage, and he cannot even spread his wings and feels like super confined. And eventually I die as an eagle and I end up at a trash heap. And from the trash heap there are like some ants that come and start eating me, and then they start spreading around across the universe, and the universe is talking to me in the form of ants and telling me that I'm nothing. And then those ants drip into some kind of liquid and they end up in the water at some place, and that I drink this water and I sit there with 10 demons, and those demons, they look at me and they come after me and they start eating me, and they eat one layer of me, and then there is a smaller Zori inside like a Matryoshka doll, and they eat that next layer of me, and then there's even a smaller Zori, until they eat so many Zoris that I'm so small they don't even bother anymore and just leave. And I'm just sitting there all alone, super small and super upset, and in a way not, however, being able to really feel that intensely. And after all of these things, eventually at some point I end up having a soup, a salamander soup, where the salamander is representing my fear. And I'm having it with my mentor, somebody that's been helping me in my trips in my mind. It's not a real character that I know, but like one in my head. And I ask him my question of like, okay, what was this about? Like, how do I experience my fear? How do I overcome it? And he's like, Zori, you have to understand, your fear is not intense. It's not something you can easily say, oh, yeah, right, this is fear, let me go do it. It's subtle. It's very, very subtle. It's like subtle things that keep on coming at you. And you know very well how to tune into those, but you have to accept the fact that your fear is subtle. It's not going to be big for you. It's always gonna be this small, sort of stuff under the surface. And you have to let go of this. You have to stop trying to control the intensity of your fear, because it is what it is. And yeah, and just face that. And it was, yeah, like the moment somehow I came back from the trip was like this, wow, okay, so this is what's been making it so hard for me, that my fear is just those subtle thoughts that I know very well how to address. There are actually two ways in which I can address them, and I know them very well. One of them is meditation. It's vipassana and just mindfulness of like scanning and really seeing them, even if they're very small, but I have to make my mind sharp for it, which is what vipassana is really good for. And then the second way is like, I just acknowledge them. I just acknowledge those small random thoughts that I keep on getting. So let me make a list. And I made myself like a fear check or a worry check. And I just made a list with all these random thoughts that were coming to me related to this thing that I'm trying to make. And as I listed them, I was like, right, now I see you. Now I know what to do, because now I can see each of you and I can answer to each of you, and I know the answer for each one of those questions that are bugging me, like, where do I find a partner? Should I pay for this? Am I good enough for this? Should I do it on this day or that day? How should I make it? Who should I invite? Tra-la-la-la. You know, all of these things were very sort of clear once I made the list. And so there goes my lesson that I wanted to share with you guys, that fear or worry, or I don't know how to call it, fear of failure can also manifest in a very small, subtle ways for you. It goes under your radar, and it's actually your intuition. It's actually some areas that you left unchecked, unattended, unmarked, that your intuition keeps on telling you, look, you missed that one, you missed this one, you missed this one, you know, and you keep on shoving them under the carpet. You're like, no, I don't have time for this. No, it's also a lot of other things. I don't have time for this. And eventually you keep on drifting like that. And until you like address those, they will always be there. And you need to sit down and do that thinking. And it's just amazing. Like, I don't know, I feel so much better now. Wow. It's a sign from the universe. A baby gecko just came on my foot. It's this big. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope this has been useful for you, and I love you all. Thank you. Bye bye.